the next day after my appointment, and I'm just gonna talk about what happened in my appointment. So yes, on the 15th of December, I had my second appointment with Trans Plus in Soho in London. And at my first appointment, the nurse said that my next appointment was going to be with two separate people, one a nurse, one a doctor, and that appointment was basically going to be 2 hours of going in detail even more about me than what the first appointment had been. And I can for sure tell you that it did go into more detail. And leading up to my second appointment, I was just very nervous and anxious and had a bit of anxiety about it. And this was just because I didn't really know what to expect in a way, and that I'd been through this process before, but I just couldn't exactly remember everything that happened before, because it was like 10, 13 years ago, and it was with the Tavistock and Portman Hospital, not with Trans Plus. But what I can remember about it was going there, and it was like I was feeling very defeated and deflated because I didn't think I was gonna be believed at all, and what I was saying I wouldn't be believed. And it was just how I was being treated by the people there as well. And in a way, at my first appointment, I was so open with hope and possibility because I was finally getting to be seen by people who could tell me for sure if I was actually trans. And I was going to be given support that I need by trained professionals who see LGBT people on a daily basis. For me, it is exciting to go to Soho, as it's somewhere that I've always wanted to be, or always wanted to go to, but never been before. And I'd always wanted and imagined to transition medically, but over the years I genuinely became so convinced that it would never happen and I'd never be seen, and I just would have to live my life how I was living for the rest of my life. And realistically, since 2019 I have been living on borrowed time, and I will explain what I mean by that in greater detail in another video. I haven't made it or recorded it. I don't even know what I'm going to say in it, but it's going to be made eventually. But what caused me so much anxiety was that I didn't at all plan for me to get to Soho, and I didn't have enough time to actually think about what sort of questions they would ask at this appointment. It's just, for me, it was just a combination of feeling ill with a cold and being anxious and a bit depressed as well. But I just wasn't thinking properly at all, and it really caused me to spiral a little bit. But that's just how I was feeling leading up to my appointment. During the appointment, I seriously didn't think I would have started crying during it, but it was nothing to do with how I was being treated. The lady couldn't have been nicer. It's just, we were talking about how things have gone in my life, how my dysphoria makes me feel, what I do and don't do because of it. And it just was such an emotional conversation that it was bound to happen. And I really don't think that actually travelling to Soho was as bad as I had imagined it to be, but it did still get to me quite a lot. And I managed to get into London at about 10:20 a.m. when I was supposed to be there at 10 a.m. And for me, the hour that I was supposed to have before actually walking into Trans Plus, I was really gonna try and think about the appointment and prep myself, but things like who the doctor and nurse were gonna be, what questions they were gonna ask, and how long the appointment was gonna be. And when I got off the train, I felt like a complete headless chicken, really. And the train was delayed and there was so many people on the train. I really needed the toilet and I just didn't know where I could go, and I was just all over the place. And I didn't want to get into Trans Plus early, well, earlier than what I needed to be, but I just had no choice but to go in there straight away, get checked in, go to the toilet, and yeah, I mean, it is what it was. But I think I was only waiting about 5 minutes when this very nice lady came through to ask me to come through to the room where the appointment was going to be held. I can't even talk. I didn't know if the lady was a nurse or a doctor, but it was only her in the room, and I'd imagined that this appointment to be with 2 people, not 1, but I suppose these things happen, really. And the lady was the nicest, sweetest person. She was so understanding, calm and gentle. To me, this is exactly the kind of person who needs to be doing a job helping out trans people to medically transition. And in the room she took me to, we sat down and helped. She had all her notes written down on an iPad, and I think she could see everything that had been spoken about in my last appointment. We first spent a little time talking about my last appointment, and then she was just getting the sense of who I was as a person and making sure that everything they had on me was correct, and it was. And we went through talking about my childhood and talking about how things were for me. And I don't want to get into too much detail about these things, as I don't want to make this video 3 hours long. But when started as being a child, going into a teenager and everything that comes with that, how it was for me all the way through school, and talking a little about things I did for hobbies. Also, she asked about when I started to socially transition, what things I did and didn't do, when I started to use my preferred name pronouns, and when I started to present myself outwardly as male. Then we moved on to what I was doing now in my life, with what I wanted and expected out of medically transitioning, and what I knew about medically transitioning. And I told her what I knew, the options that were available, and what I'd heard online. I asked a few questions and to get clarification on some stuff. We went through hormone therapy and what it does to the body, and a little bit about top surgery, and she gave me an information booklet about it. This was essentially the end of the appointment, and in total it took about 2 hours, and I think there was potentially more that happened in the appointment. It's just I was so overwhelmed that I've slightly forgot. But at this point, at the end of the appointment, I believe that she could see how distressed I was in my life, and just how much I personally needed to transition. She actually did a little thing on her iPad, which then got sent to the on-site pharmacy. Then she explained to me that I could clearly understand what hormone therapy is and what it does to my body, and she believed that me needing it was genuinely true, that she gave me a prescription for a low dose of testosterone, which I really didn't expect to happen, but she did give me the low dose of testosterone so that I could get used to using it and start getting into the routine of giving it to myself. And I was given Testogel, which is the gel form of testosterone, which I would put on myself on my upper arms and stomach every day at the end at around the same sort of time. So for me, December now has a good quality about it. The 15th of December is now when I can say I started hormone therapy. And once she had completed the form on her iPad, she explained to me what's going to happen next at my appointment, what's going to happen at my next appointment, and other stuff that Trans Plus can support me with. And my next appointment's going to be in about 8 weeks, which is the first week of February, I think. I just have to wait for the confirmation email, and I wasn't given an exact day, but I should try that I was going to get my third appointment. But a blood test is going to be done for me, and they're going to try and get me to go to a support group all on the same day. It sounds a bit complicated to me, but I'm hopeful it will go through. But I can't at all believe that was everything that happened at my second appointment, and I'm just full of cold at the moment, which explains the way I am, and probably I sound slightly snotty, but hopefully you watched all the way through. Hopefully you're gonna like and subscribe to this video. I'm still getting used to being on camera and recording and everything like that, so I'll get there eventually, but hopefully I'll see you in the next one.